Add viewers to your podcast. Okay, that's going to let me. Okay, see if everybody made it. So it's Bud Collier again. We moved to a different site, and we'll see if everybody can get on. So see if Mr. James made it. Evan Cole. Adam Dane. Amanda, what are you doing, girl? Waved at Amanda and Rocky. I miss you guys. So we're waiting for David James to come on board. There's Bully Bear. Hello, Haley, David James. Okay, let's see if I can get you on now. Okay. Okay, there we go. I don't have an ad yet. It's working on it. Do you have a public? Okay, Kathy Shannon I can add. I see you, David. Hi, Kathy Shannon. Okay, I can add. I don't see an ad for you. Okay, let's see. David James, invite. Okay, I just invited you. So some reason, David, you don't have a. Do you have a block or a public thing, Evan? Did Evan make it? Let me add Evan real quick. Okay, I see the icon for David. Trying to add you. I see one for, but I don't see an ad. Okay, does this every week to us. How do I bring them on camera? Is watching. Okay, there we go, David. Now you got an ad. Make it yet? I'm adding you.
Does that work, Bud?
Yes. Can everybody see him? Oh, do you have a smartphone? Okay, hey, we got it. Hi, brother David. What are you doing, brother?
Not much. Let me go get the charger for the phone because the phone's
Okay.
almost dead. Give me a second.
Take your time. Okay, we can't turn it, so we're live. There we go. How much time do we have? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good.
I'm good.
So I'm going to ask you some questions and stuff that you don't want to answer. Not a big deal. I know you just started working in a new school district and things of that nature. So this is just a conversation. And, so you got like 30, 40 minutes for us?
Oh, yeah, I got plenty of time.
So here's the first question I have is tell me why David James is on our show tonight. Mr. James?
All right, well, in October of 2014, my phone is sliding there. Sorry. My 13-year-old son, Peyton, came home from school one day and made the decision to take his life.
How old was Peyton
He went
then?
to the bedroom and he hanged himself. His mother found him. She cut him down. She called the 911.
Yes.
And despite the best efforts of the doctors and nurses at Dell Children's Medical Center in Austin and everybody else, he passed away on October 13th, 2014. And it was at that point that I decided I'm a teacher. It's what I do. And I had to figure out why a young person would want to take their life? What would lead them to that? So I started doing, I did what anybody else does when they have questions. I went to Google and I started looking and looking and looking and came up and realized that the number one cause of suicide in the United States and the world is mental health issues. And Peyton had been treated for mental health issues in the past with depression and anxiety.
But was
And
he on medication or counseling?
he was taking medication for it. He had been in counseling, but just like anything, there's no guarantees.
Yes.
You could take medication for cancer patients and everybody else, but there's no guarantee.
Right. Well, so
And
were you guys even aware that he was even contemplating suicide?
he had made comments in the past indicating that, sorry,
That's fun, brother.
indicating that he was having issues and everything else, but you never take it seriously.
Right.
You don't want to take it seriously. You think it's just him crying out for attention or something like that, because the alternative is your child is suicidal. Just like the other parents, you don't want to think that. So you do what you can for him, but unfortunately nothing is guaranteed in life.
So was he in a school in Austin, right?
He was in Georgetown, Texas, just north of Austin. And
right.
Georgetown.
Were the counselors aware of his potential suicide? Were the counselors aware, at the teachers or anybody at the school?
No, I don't believe they were. I live in the Houston area. His mother and I were divorced,
right,
and he was living with his mom, and we made every effort to just normalize life for him as much as we could.
So as we talk to parents, we've been to a lot of events together over the years. We've been to Austin at the Capitol, and we're going to talk about your project here in a moment. But so was he getting bullied at school? Was he getting cyber bullied, or what do you contribute?
Bullying had been an element of his life for quite a while. He was born 2 months premature and was always small for his age. He had red hair, he had freckles, he wore glasses. I mean, it was, almost the perfect storm for somebody that wants to bully someone.
Yes.
So it was very difficult for him. And,
so was he getting physical bullying or mental or what type of, would you classify all of it?
I'd say it was probably more emotional than physical.
Okay.
But
so the teasing and
teasing, name calling, things like that. And then he was new at the school that year, so that never helps. And
yeah, because I grew up as a veteran kid, so I was always the new kid on the block. Yeah, and I know how that feels. You lose all your friends in Houston. All of a sudden, you're in a new school, and all these kids that you've grown up with, they're not there for your support. See the hat I'm wearing? The emblem?
Oh, yeah.
That was made by a young man up in Amarillo, Texas.
Okay.
And it was Marcus Esposito, and he's being bullied really bad, and he's special education. So we've got some casework up there where that school ignored him. So he made this hat and bracelets for us, and he's actually doing better. And you know what they've done? They've taken him out of school. He's homeschooled now because of the bullying. And we're seeing more of that. So what are your feelings on homeschooling for kids that are constantly being attacked? So
I think, I'd hate to, I really don't know. As a public school teacher, I'd like to think that the schools could do a good enough job that it wouldn't be necessary. But, as a parent, you do what is best for your child. Parents need to do what is best for their child any and all time.
I agree.
If they are not getting what they need from the public schools. If the public schools are not doing their job and refuse to do their job, then the parents need to step in. And, you know, it's not always the easiest thing for parents to do. You know, sometimes you have families where both parents have to work. It's not an easy decision.
Right.
So they have to understand that, you know, it's something that, you know, for a parent, it's not the easiest thing in the world to decide upon.
So let's go to another question. So what is the name of your organization that you started, and what have you been doing to be proactive with Peyton Hart's project?
Okay, first of all, the organization is the Peyton Hart Project. You can see I have my shirt on here. This is the one that I wore up in Dallas for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's overnight walk.
How many people attended that event?
There were over 1,000.
That's a big event. You know, over the years, you know, we've never had the 1 million person walk for anti-bullying. Have you seen that yet? We've seen it for almost everything else, but for some reason, we've never had that big push. We've been to the state capitol. You remember when we did David's Law with Noreen Moloch and her family, and yeah, there was a lot for there. But 1,000 people is one of the biggest. Was that suicide or bullying or what? How would you?
That was suicide. It's the overnight walk. It was a 16-mile walk through Dallas, and you know, it was just an incredible event. It took.
So how did you get invited to that?
It's held annually by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and I just, you know, you sign up. You have to raise a certain amount of money, and then, you know, for me it was easy. It was a, you know, 3-hour drive up I-45 to Dallas, but there were people that had come in from, you know, the East Coast, the West Coast, you know, all over the country to participate.
So were these for kids suicide or suicide in general?
Suicide in general.
So statistically, how many children under the age of 17 commit suicide in the United States? Do you know?
No, I don't. I could look that up.
Yeah, well, I figured, but yeah, it's between 4,000 to 5,000 a year. And we're seeing kids as young as 7 years old committing suicide in the United States. And then
right now for teenagers, it's the second leading cause of death.
Exactly.
Behind accident.
And then once you go through the 18 to 30 year mark, it's the same amount of, because of I call it the damage or the hurt that's been done in preschool, high school, all the way through. So that never really goes away, does it? And
yeah.
So that was your big event. And did you get to speak, or was just a walk and talk to people as you?
No, I didn't speak. I was part of the opening ceremony. I presented the honor beads in honor of, you know, for representing all people who have lost a child to suicide.
Yes.
And that was a big honor for me.
You know, do you know Kara down in San Marcos, Isaac's Foundation? Yes. You know, her young twins went to a suicide bully camp. I've never.
Okay, I think it was a grief camp.
Yeah, a grief camp or whatever. Which is and I've seen some pictures. And do you promote that? Do you think that would help?
I think anything, you know, everybody handles grief differently.
Yes.
And, you know, I can't say, oh, I know what you're going through, because somebody might be processing everything completely different than I did.
Right.
So anything that helps anybody cope is a good thing. You know, and for a lot of kids, it's very difficult. You know, my daughter was 2 years old when Peyton passed away. So, you know, for her, it's helping her understand, you know, she didn't really know what he was, you know, what happened. She knows, you know, and we were honest with her.
Yes.
He said that he'd hurt himself and that he was dead and he's gone to heaven and he's never coming back. You know, but when you're 2, you don't understand the permanence of death. Now that she's she's a little older. She's 6 now.
Yes.
She's starting to understand.
You know, when you, I know you did a memorial for Peyton at the school. And would you like to talk about that and some of the issues that you had with the school not wanting to put that out? Remember?
Yeah. My ex-wife, Peyton's mother, Jackie, who runs an organization called Kindness Matters, was she works in that district, and she had heard that there was a memorial garden at the school. And she went up there and she had contacted the principal asking if we could place some kind of memorial for Peyton there. And she was told that no, because of the way he died, that, because he, died by suicide, they weren't going to allow it. And, that was not the answer we were looking for.
Right.
And she's a bit more level-headed than I am. My reaction was to scream and yell from the highest peak and get everybody's attention. She preferred to handle it, through the proper channels and everything else. So she was, she was highly instrumental in getting the board to approve it.
So she went to the board after they said no and got her 3 minutes with the board. Is that how that works up in Georgetown?
She, obviously, it was handled in writing, and she, she knew a couple of people that, one of the board members was a supporter of ours. So he went and, he helped us through the process, and his name slips in my mind right now. I can't remember it.
But what were their reasons for not allowing the memorial or the garden? It was because it was a bench, wasn't it? Or a rock, or
it's
I remember.
Memorial. And, there were memorials to other people that had died, whether they were students or teachers or whatever.
Yeah.
And their reasoning is Peyton died by suicide.
And they didn't want to publicize or talk about?
No, they didn't.
And, I have this same debate with my wife. Her husband was a fireman, and years ago, he committed suicide. So she feels that talking about suicide with the kids would actually cause potentially more. What do you feel about that?
That's actually been false.
Right.
It doesn't cause more. If anything, what it does is it opens a dialogue. I mean, you have, if you refuse to talk about something, that doesn't make it go away.
Right. See, we have, are you watching the things with the people talking to, David?
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Are you watching the people that are watching and comments they're making?
I'm seeing some of the comments, and yes, I can see all that.
Yeah. And same with Cara down in Miss Yoakum. Same way. Yeah. They didn't want to do anything for Isaac at the school and things of this nature. And I'm a proponent, depending on the age of the kids, when, Evan and I do a lot of, Evan Vazatis, we do a lot of talks at schools and churches. We talk about David's Law, which we were all heavily involved with that, with Maureen and the results of that. But if the kids are old enough, we talk about the results. And I show a video to the kids, and usually they're 10 or 11 or 12, and it shows, all it is a song, and it shows these kids, nothing graphic, but the age, and they're gone. And, I look and show them, these kids look normal. They were little football players. They were cheerleaders. They were not grotesque looking kids. They were normal, and now they're gone. And that kind of gets everybody to thinking. So look around at that room. Jimmy Whidden's one of the guys that I work with in the military, and he says, I've had numerous conversations with my kids about suicide over the years. So and Jimmy's a good friend. We work together in Alconbury, and his kids are in college now, but you've got to keep that dialogue. And when the kids come home, you've got to ask what happened at school. You kind of agree with that? So I'm trying to get our guys involved too. So, but as you look back, and maybe you don't want to answer this since you work at schools, but do you think that the school did anything for anti-bullying at all.
I can't speak for Peyton's school
Yeah.
because, like I said, I live 150, 160 miles away.
Yes.
That would be a question better directed to his mother.
Right.
So,
And I've talked to her before. You know, I've done some audits on the schools up there for Georgetown, and we've done that. So so you've worked in how many different school districts during your career?
Probably 6 or 7 at least.
So, and when did you start?
1991.
1991. So 1991, bullying was one of those things that happened. We swept it under the rug. Yeah, man up, those years. So it was about 2011 or 12, we started looking more at groups coming in saying, what are we doing about this? Is that about the correct timeline?
Probably. I mean, with the advent of social media, it really has taken on a whole new perspective.
Yes.
Because kids cannot get away from it. It used to be, you'd have issues at school, you could go home, but now it follows you.
Follows you, yes. You look at the little girl down in Texas City, Randy Vila, and what you look at what was Maureen's son, David Moloch. Yeah, I read some of the posts, and the little Vasquez kid, you remember that? They got all of his pictures, and he had cancer. And every day, and they would take those Twitter accounts down, and the next day, then the kids would start a new one, whoever it was. Have you met David from TKO down in Brownsville yet?
No, I have not.
He's a brand new group, and it's, oh, man. It's a kindness organization. I'm having a brain block. David, type in what TKO, but they're a new group that we're aligned with, and they just had their first seminar with a bunch of kids at the Boys and Girls Club, and they talked about David's Law. So here's one as we're talking about suicide. So does your school, are they aware of David's Law?
Yes, I believe they are. Like I said, I'm in the process. I'm moving to a new school. I'm starting a new swim program at my new school.
Is that going to be in Clear Lake area?
No, I'm far north.
Oh, north side. Okay. So are you going to bring that in, or the school are going to allow you, or?
I haven't brought it up with them yet.
Yes.
If I see a need for it, then yes.
Yeah.
I will talk to the administration about it.
Oops.
Sorry. Like I said, I don't want to come in and tell people how to do their jobs.
Right.
What I want to see is how they handle things.
Yes.
And if I feel that, that I've got an area that I can help in, then I will.
Cool. That was David from TKO. Tolerance, kindness overcomes. And that's a new group that as we start talking about groups in different areas that we trust, because we've met a lot of groups out over the years that really don't do anything. Does that make sense, David? So there's groups that we trust. And so when David brings you down to Brownsville, it's because it's the real deal. He came up to, the big deal that we do at the Kids Directory every year, where we go and sing. So David drove all the way up from Brownsville just to meet us. And
oh, wow.
So and his brother works in a school district down in Corpus. And the reason I forget, I'm in my 60s now, and I forget certain things. I don't have Alzheimer's yet, but when I'm teaching at college, I'll forget an acronym. So I go, help me. So that's where David just wrote up TKO is tolerance, kindness overcomes. And as we see groups, and so what have you been doing with your organization?
Well, the Peyton Hart Project, we are a nonprofit. It was started by a lady from New Jersey named Jill Cuban, and Jill had contacted me. She had heard about Peyton's situation or his story.
Yes.
And she contacted me through social media and said, "Hey, we, excuse me, we would love if we could do something. I said, yeah, great. And she told me about the idea for the Peyton Hart project. And the idea is to take these small handmade hearts
Yes.
and leave them in public places. And I don't have any with me right now. I forgot to bring them upstairs with me.
Well, I know Evan has a bunch from our last, so we're always giving those out. Evan Bazatis.
So we hand them out, or we leave them places where people can find them. Each heart has a tag attached to it, and we leave them where people can find them, and the tag has a positive message on it.
Yes.
So that when people find them, they can see what the hearts are all about, and they can read Peyton's story and see why we do that, and everything else behind it. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And Jill was kind enough to name it after Peyton. And
so are you a board member, or they run the board, or how does that work?
No, we all work together. A lot of the hearts, most of the hearts are sent to her in New Jersey in order to, because like I said, I'm a full-time teacher and coach, and
yes,
she does an incredible job running the Peyton Hart project and getting the hearts to people and making sure that they end up in the hands of people that need them. We have an ambassadors program where people can apply. And I forgot to mention Sue Harris, who is Jill's friend, is also part
the co-founder.
Of it.
And Patty Dilly is one of our ambassadors, and she does an incredible job up there in the Philadelphia area. I'm sorry, I've got my screen up here, and I'm trying to find. I've got tons of pictures of hearts, and I'm just trying to find them right now. So that is cool. Yeah, we love the hearts, because remember our last event was at the Capitol, and we had T. Ron Hicks and his organization. Isaac's Foundation was there. There's my cousins on board now. I'm also reading all these guys. And do you know Michelle Edwards? You ever met her?
No, I may have. Names and faces.
Well, it's such a small world. Her daughter was getting bullied on the bus, and I think they lived down in Florida at that time. I forget, right? And so I'm helping her daughter, and she's that mother that just won't go away, right? So we're talking, she's down at the bus barn, blah, all these rights that she knows should be, and she's studying the books. And so finally we kept talking, and I was stationed with her husband in the military. I had no idea that we were good friends. So that here I'm helping a family, and the next thing I know, I'm working with her husband at Holloman. And so what they did with her is that they sent her to karate camp, and to protect herself. And she was a little beauty queen and the whole bit, but that's how her parents got involved, and they just would not go away. Michelle and her husband. Isn't that cool? But I'm reading.
The parents have to stay after. I mean, it's.
But so some of the things that we've worked together on a lot of projects. Is I go in and we audit the school and their handbooks to show the parents what they should be doing, because a lot of parents have no idea that there's laws that they should be following. I.e. with David's law, it's against the law now to cyberbully a child, and. At the end of the day, you can actually sue those parents deep down in that law if your child needs to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Did you know that?
Yeah, with David's law, I mean, I actually read an article recently where they're trying to go back and add in some of the original things that had to be taken out to get it to give it even more teeth than it has now.
We haven't had many people really push the law on anybody, and what we're seeing is it was a little guy up in Bastrop, and her daughter she had a mental breakdown, and the cops says we can't do anything until now. This is the resource
officer cop there at school says we can't do anything until she kills herself.
Now, see, that's where they're wrong, and that's where the need for education comes in.
And how do we get that education out? That's the next big thing, And so here's a question. You don't maybe I don't know if you David, you're welcome to my speaking and engaging on August 10th. Evan's doing a big speaking event up in Cinco de Mayo or Cinco Ranch on the on the 10th. But I'm reading at the same time. But we were talking about David's Law, right? And what needs to be out there. So each year before the school year starts, do you get any training on bullying or cyberbullying and what you should be?
Basically, the House Bill 2186, which was passed, I think, 4 years ago.
Yes.
Requires that every teacher every teacher and any school employee that comes in contact with kids has to be trained in suicide awareness and recognition and everything else. As far as bullying, I think that's still up to the individual districts,
right? How
they want to approach that, and
so there's nothing about cyberbullying. It's all about suicide awareness, right? That's
right now. That was the one that I worked on. I helped lobby for 2186
yes.
back in the spring of 2015.
Well, is it computer-based training, or is it actual somebody sits down with you, or how is it?
There's really no set way. It's up to the individual districts as to how they do it. It can be computer-based. It can be, as long or as short as they want it to be.
So is it documented that you had it by attendance?
It is a state law. It is TEA that they have to document that you did it. Now, like I said, the districts themselves decide how they want to do it and how they go about it.
Well, you remember I worked at NASA. We had computer-based training. A lot of that computer-based training is great, but sometimes you go right to the end and take it. Was there a test or what? You don't know, right? So it's just, are they really going to read it? And they've got so many other things that they're doing. So it just depends on the school district. And unless they've had a suicide, I don't see a lot of teachers taking it serious. Is that too much info?
I wouldn't say that they don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things until it actually happens, especially at the beginning of the year, teachers are overwhelmed coming back each year.
Yes.
With all everything that they have to go through. And of course, getting their classroom ready, being ready for that first day, ready for the kids, because that's what we're in it for. We're in it for the kids.
Yes.
And, there's so much going on, so much information that has to be presented.
Right. So you've got, and then you got to get ready for the STAR testing and the pressure of that, right? So I can see that. How do you prioritize something, and it's never happened in your school, right?
Yeah.
Because every school district doesn't have a suicide every year. It's relatively rare, but I don't know how many suicides are but we don't even know how many kids attempt suicide, and you never hear about that. There's no statistical analysis on that.
Well, the average, they say, for every attempt, or
yes.
for every successful suicide, for every suicide that's completed, there's 25 attempts.
Right. And to what degree is it? Is it just whether they're talking about it or they take Tylenol or something of that nature, right?
Well, I don't know how they classify an attempt.
Yes.
So, obviously, if they're admitted or examined for self-harm.
Yes.
Would be my guess.
I would say, and that statistic is hard to find because it doesn't get out there, because it's kids and things of that nature, with the HIPAA laws. So
with HIPAA laws, you can't, they can't release that information.
So as we keep looking, you remember, and we've got about 15 minutes left, the event that happened in Santa Fe with Demetrius, the kid, you remember the young man that took the lives of 10 people down there. I went down to Santa Fe, dropped some bracelets off, and we went to a couple of meetings and talked to some of the parents, got on the news. And so is your school getting ready the same way the other schools to prevent another tragedy?
Well, I think every school has their own way of handling these
Yeah.
things, and I'm guessing that with the events in Santa Fe, that yes, there's going to be a heightened awareness. I know that at the school I was working at previously, after Santa Fe, after Florida, all of those, there's always that heightened awareness and drills and everything else. But like anything else, it tends to, okay, well, it hasn't happened. We got this, that, and the other thing to take care of. So sometimes it tends to go by the wayside until it happens again. I think vigilance is the key.
So after the Santa Fe incident, and we won't even name your school, did you guys do extra drills, talk about it, or what did you do? Because remember after that incident, there was I remember 3 or 4 guns that were, remember one kid I think committed suicide, didn't he, in Houston during that time?
They may have, like I said, I know that there were, reports of guns. I think people's awareness was raised.
Yeah, that was up in Dallas. A young man committed.
Oh, at McKinney Boyd High School.
Yeah. Right after we supposed to be looking for all these guns, and I know there was 2 or 3 bought right into the Clear Lake area down by Galveston, where Santa Fe is. They had 2 or 3 kids that were caught with guns, and all these other attempts with kids making these accusations. We're going to kill, on Facebook. And that's what and because we were looking for it, right? And
yeah. I mean, once you raise the awareness and kids know what to look for, they're not going to turn the other way. Their priority is their safety, their friends' safety, and the same thing needs to be done with mental health issues, with suicide, everything else. Is kids normally, they're not going to come, for the most part, they may not come to the teacher, but they will talk to their friends, and they'll talk to each other.
Do you notice the children in your school, do they come to you for insight because of your background and what happened to Peyton? Do you see more kids confiding in you?
I've had a few come to me. I wouldn't say it's a large amount.
Yeah.
But I've had students come to me and confide in me, and I always tell them that if you tell me anything, I am required. I cannot keep secrets.
Right.
I'm not going to keep it a secret. I will notify the counselors. I will notify your parents. And it's not because I'm trying to get you in trouble. It's that I'm trying to keep you safe.
And that's the communication with these kids, I think, is they're afraid to talk because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble. And how do we open that dialogue with them? We're here to help them. We're not here to you're not going to get in trouble, right? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I'll tell you one of the things. My daughter is 6 years old. She watches those shows on the Disney Channel and some of those other shows. And they always paint the teachers and the administrators as villains. That we're out to get kids and we want to give them detention and we want to, no, we don't. We want to help the kids.
Yes.
And, shows like that paint a picture of the teacher as this evil opponent don't do anybody any favors. The kids need to be able to see us as somebody that they can come to, not somebody that they need to fear.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so what is the climate this year? In Texas, Florida, or do you see a step up on more security? Yeah, and I've read some of the things down in Santa Fe. They've closed it up pretty much. And you remember they had the people talking on the news that Demetrius was bullied, and you remember that Saturday the superintendent said that there was no bullying. They did an investigation in 8 hours and put it out on the news.
Yeah.
A lot of the advocates across the country going, really? But so we'll see what happens with the trial once some of that evidence comes out. Was he really bullied? And bullying is in the eyes of the beholder. You agree with that? Stuff that I can.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
there's bullying. The thing is, they have the definition of it legally.
Right. CDC's put that out because remember in 2012 we could throw 13 different definitions up on the wall and it wasn't official. Does that make yeah? So now we kind of have a definition that everybody agrees with.
Well, I think the best thing is if you look at David's law, where they define bullying in the state of Texas, it gives you a clearer idea, and that's when it's down in writing, when it's a law.
Mm-hmm.
Does what that child has done meet the qualifications?
Right.
And it's not like when you were a kid or I was a kid or something like that. It's different now, and I think it's coming to the forefront. It's always I think it's always been there, but the climate has changed, and I see people all the time say, oh, well, if the kids just went out and duked it out, there wouldn't be these problems. But the problem is now, if you fight in school, even if you're defending yourself, you can get in as much trouble as the person that attacks you.
Yeah. See, that's that zero tolerance, and in the state of Texas, it's Section 7 of the law, because I do these audits all the time. If your kid is being attacked, and it's called bullying, but see, if it's a one-time attack, that's not bullying. That's assault. Does that make you kind of? But what I see with parents is they throw the bully card until I really get to know. Well, how many times has your son been attacked? Only once. Well, that's a fight, right? And that's not. Both of them possibly should get in trouble. But if your child is being menaced over the years by some type of not physical bullying but verbal bullying, and it turns into physical bullying, they have a right to protect themselves. That's what that's about.
Well, the whole thing is that and this is one of the things that David's law points out. It can be one significant event, but if it interferes with a child's ability, their education,
yes,
then that is bullying. And it can be one significant event. It used to be over a series of time, a series of events. Now it can be one significant event. And if that interferes with a child's ability to get an education, then that is bullying. So that is one of the things that they needed to clear up. It's, oh, well, it only happened this one time, et cetera.
Yeah.
Now they've gotten a little bit better about defining it.
Right.
And once it's defined, then it takes on a whole different, a different aspect.
I agree.
So,
and we'll
aware of.
As we open these organizations, we probably have 30 or 40 anti-bully groups that I trust all over the country. When we have an issue, I'll put out, so what should we do when we're talking to the parents? We've written books about this is what's going to happen to your child if they get bullied. If you go on the news, that doesn't mean the bullying is going to stop. Sometimes you get retaliation from the school, the teachers. We've seen that before. Have you ever ran into that, or the other students?
I've heard about it. I mean, I think it's terrible that, administration, teachers, all that they would retaliate. Their job is to protect the students, and that's what they need to understand, is that their job is to take care of the students that they are, that are in their classroom, that are in their school, that are in their charge. And that's what we're here for. Some kids may not come from the best environment. Some kids come to that school because that's the one safe place that they can go.
Yes.
And if that's taken away from them, then we've got a problem.
Yeah, what we keep seeing across the country is the children that are getting hurt at school, or getting molested. Quite a few that I've heard with the parents, and it's not reported to the police. That's some of the things that we're trying to break down from, you just can't keep that internally in the school.
No, I mean, there are certain things that, and this is one of those things they go over with teachers every year as to what you are required to report.
Right.
Even if you just, suspect it.
And do you call CPS, or who do you do you call the real?
As a teacher, you're responsible to report it to administration. And then they take the steps beyond that.
Yes. And then you're legally, that's your legal requirement. Does that make sense?
Yes. And, there's nothing saying that we can't call CPS immediately. If it's after hours and you hear about something, it's not something that can wait till the next day. You've got to deal with it right then and there. Because if that's a harmful environment, that child does not need to go home that night.
Well, see, last year, I remember talking to 9 or 10 different parents about their child getting molested at school by boys, where they're grabbing them, in their private parts. That's molestation, right? That's sexual harassment. Yeah. And these are kids 11 to 17 years old. And 3 of the parents just took their kid because nothing was done. These are schools right here in the Houston area. And, unfortunately, like you said, the parents are now homeschooling them because they're worried about the safety of their child. So you can only bring so much out, we work behind the scenes with a lot of these parents, showing them this is what they should be doing. This is the paper trail that we're looking for, and that's the thing that, we've talked about this a lot at different events. Do we need to follow everything up? And, you've got so many other events that's happening in that school. What do you think about it?
Here's the thing, though, and parents need to understand this. If a law is broken, they can take it upon themselves to go to the police, to go to the DA or whatever, and follow up. They don't have to rely on the schools. Right. But if they feel there's evidence that a crime has been committed and they don't feel enough's being done, they can take it upon themselves.
So what do you feel, as we're sitting here almost out of time, when you go and you're talking to the school board and you get your 3 minutes for a safety issue involving bullying? That's the 3 minutes that you get. Have you ever been to a school board with a parent?
No, I have not.
Yeah, we went to Galveston, and I've seen all the parents. They get 3 minutes to talk to the school board about an issue that's possible suicide with their child. They get no input or feedback from the board, and most of the time, from what I've heard from parents, nothing's done. They don't really, nothing's sided with that family. And it's in Dallas. I've seen it with Kaylee Houston, and T. Ron Hicks talked to you about Kaylee, remember? And so nothing. We had her father had 4 binders of documentation, and nothing was done. So that's the problem. Is as we look at school boards, that's your courtroom, unless you have a $high-dollar lawyer, and then they lawyer up.
Well, see, that's one of the things with David's Law. Is they have partnered with an organization that can provide pro bono legal advice.
Oh, okay. So,
and if you go to their website, it's on there.
Okay. So every time I talk to somebody, I learn something new about this. So that's on David's. What is it? David's Law.
Legacy.
David's Legacy. That's a good one.
David's Legacy webpage, and Maureen Moloch has been an incredible friend and sounding board and helping me. When parents come to me and they have questions, I refer to her.
Right.
Because I don't want to give out wrong information. I'm not going to say something that I'm not sure of.
Right.
Because I want to make sure they're getting solid advice, that they're following the letter of the law, and that they hold the districts to the letter of the law. I
agree. Yeah, you see all that's happening over in Katy, with that group, A Legacy, that stuff that they've bought up. And, that started with a parent where their child was getting bullied, Sean DeLon, and he won't go away. Does that make sense? And but I've been over there to when they were actually going to sue the school board. We're going to actually sue the parents for harassment on national TV. But that's kind of, but that's the biggest movement I've ever seen against the school district. And you've seen some of the outcomes, what happened to the superintendent, and had nothing to do, you know. And so as we rally around, as more parents get their education, understand their rights, I see more and more asking the schools to be transparent and not, what do you call it, stand behind that lawyer and stand behind the school board.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, the primary, schools are there to educate our students.
yes.
And they need to provide a safe place for our, for our children. And as a teacher, that's one of the, my priorities. I'm going to make sure that that student can come to school and they can learn.
Cool.
That they have the opportunity.
So we are about out of time, my brother. So what do you see Peyton Hart's project doing here in the next couple of years?
All right, hold on just a second.
Yeah.
I want to show you here on my screen. That is, if I can get that.
It's
Sorry,
good. I got it.
See the heart there?
Yeah.
That's what we do is we provide these hearts for people. If they want them, we can get them to them. We, have to make they have to pay for the tags and the shipping and everything.
I've seen you post them all over the place. They show up at football games, sporting events, restaurants, grocery stores. I love it. Yeah, and all that is just a little reminder of love.
Was with me, a few weeks ago when my family was on vacation.
Yeah.
It's something that we need to get out. It's, and we're still trying to grow. We're trying to, raise awareness. And what we'd really love is, get that big name celebrity, an Ellen DeGeneres or a JJ Watt or somebody to, just post a picture of it with our tag and, help us raise awareness. That's what we want to do.
Right.
People say it's uncomfortable to talk about suicide, but I'll tell you what's even worse is having to bury your child, having to say goodbye to your child. That's the worst thing that can ever happen to anybody is losing a child.
Exactly.
It goes against the natural order. It goes against everything. And if I can keep one child from making that decision like Peyton made,
yes,
to take their life, then I'm going to do it. I'll do what is necessary. And, handing out hearts, putting them out where people can find them, when we see the results of it, when people post on the internet or on our webpage or on our Facebook page about finding one and what it meant to them and how it helped them.
yes,
That's what it's all about.
it's about one. Yeah, like you said, over the years, I know the kids that are, even the parents go, they're alive because of what we got involved with. Michael Hill went out to Midland, and the little girl that her mother found her hanging in the closet that lived. And it was M. Deuce and Michael Hill was out there for a anti-awareness group that we sent them out. And they sat down just talking to her. And her mother contributes her alive today with kids because of those two men that just talked to her for a few minutes as a person, it's just incredible what we're trying to do. Well, I appreciate you, my brother. I love what you're doing. We've been partners for a lot of years. We've helped kids, and I think it's about time to close this up. Do you have any good wisdom for our kids out there?
They need to understand that it's okay not to be okay. If it's something that's ongoing, if you feel trouble, or if you ever feel like hurting yourself is a solution or an answer to something, then you need to talk to somebody. There are people out there that want to help. There are people out there, the world is a better place with you in it.
Yeah, there's so many suicide hotlines.
Each day around, there's the National Suicide Hotline. There is a national text hotline if you're not comfortable talking, if you'd rather text. They have infinite reasons to live.
Yeah, just like Jill was saying.
Yeah, go to the Peyton Hart Project website, the PeytonHartProject.org. Go to our Facebook page, look for our hashtag, the Peyton Hart Project, and see what we're about. That's what we want people to do. We want them to, get involved.
Right.
And help us spread this message and, prevent suicide.
See, you remember when Mothers Against Drunk Driving started in the 70s? Remember?
Yeah.
And How long did it take that group to where that is a major group? And now if you're drinking and driving, you're in trouble. But back in the 70s, nothing really happened to you. So where they are, because remember, our group started around 2012 across the country. Yeah. And Evan just wrote a note, tell David we're proud of you, brother. You remember that video we did up at that sports camp?
Oh, yeah.
Where he entered, that was one of his first interviews. Did you see Evan's new video that he put out where he was acting?
I have not had a chance to. I've seen it, but I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Oh, I was there and I had no idea. We drove up to Magnolia. And he made this video and it was acting. I really didn't know what it was about. I just know these guys were professional film, and I cried during some of the filming. The intensity, because it's exactly what a child may be thinking, but before they hurt themselves. So yeah, it's a very powerful video that Evan made. Oh, hi, baby girl. Oh, I love. Has she been swimming today?
No, he didn't go swimming today.
I love seeing him out in the pool.
He wandered in, he came over to me, so I wanted him to say hi to everybody.
There's Mr. Daniel Shannon. I known him since he was a little boy. Known his daddy and mommy for years. So yeah, you said it just right. If you don't feel good and you're worried, call somebody, a teacher. There's so many different organizations that you can get a hold of, and somebody will help you. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, my brother, I appreciate you, and let's just keep working, and let's see what happens with this mental approach to all the issues that are going in the schools. But because that's what the governor went after. Let's put some metal detectors is not going to stop bullying, right?
Well, I think the whole thing is, we have to address the issue at hand, and that's, mental health issues.
Right.
Virginia has just passed a law. The state of Virginia has passed a law requiring mental health education. And until you realize, so many kids sit there and suffer in silence because they think they're the only ones going through what they are. And if they recognized it, right, then it would make such a difference in this world.
And Evan just said that's a wrap, my brother. Okay. God bless you. Right. And say hi to everybody, and we'll have a good school year and be safe. And and appreciate you, my brother. Okay. We're out of here.
Okay.
Thank you from Unbully Free and Peyton Hart's Project and everybody else, and Kara, and we'll see you later, my brother. We're out of here. Love it.
All right.
I'll call you later. Thank you.
All right. Bye.